And welcome to episode number 30 of the 941 Sports Zone. I'm Spitz, and that's John Mile High Masoni.
Yeah, I am
And
mile high for sure. Down here in Denver, Colorado, actually in the suburbs, a little south of Denver, Castle
Mhm,
Rock. I'm out
mhm.
here for the birth of my second grandchild. We don't know
Congratulations.
gender, which in this day and age is a whole different world. Usually, it's the gender's been revealed with some sort of a skywriting or massive balloons, pink balloons landing on the family in the backyard, or something along those lines. But we are going old school. We're going to find out today what if it's a little baby boy Wilson or baby girl Wilson,
Oh,
and see how
okay.
that's
They
going to
used
work
to. That's very interesting.
out.
I was my son Lucas. We didn't want to know that, and we got to 33 weeks, and a new nurse came in and go, "Oh, look at his little tallywhacker," and was that? Yeah. Okay.
Done.
Thanks a lot.
Ruined
Really,
it.
really nice. We got all the way to week 33.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Hey, and you tried.
hmm the 941 Sports Zone brought to you as always by the good folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. Locally owned, nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941 251 4257. 941 251 4257. There are going to be some storms back home down there in Southwest Florida today. A line of storms. Hopefully the roof comes through it. If not, give the good folks at Mighty Dog Roofing a call. Certainly got to get that taken care of before hurricane season, which, believe it or not, is right around the corner.
The 6 months part of it, years you didn't even worry about a hurricane June into July and maybe not even October a little bit. But nowadays, I mean, there's it's been an active couple of years, and you never know what's going to pop up in June. So you got to be ready for it from right away. So get your roof taken care of, like you said, and make sure you've got some water saved and all the other things you need in case there's some sort of a power outage or whatever it may be from a hurricane.
We got a packed show. March Madness, of course.
Yeah.
The brackets revealed yesterday. Free agency. I only put down about 15 or 20. I could have went all day long with free agency, but I just kind of did a little bit of the highlights. World Baseball Classic. Some would say a surprise in Miami on Sunday night.
Sure.
Tremendous Players Championship. But let's start with a local story, a 941 story.
Yes.
And that is the Sarasota Sailors, boys basketball team.
Yep, the boys basketball team. You pick up on these things, as things are going by, and you hear about good stories, and you keep tally of what's going on, and had themselves a fantastic regular season, a cruise to the state semifinals. I mean, cruise is relative. They seem like they're ready to go, and they had gotten to the state semifinals last year and lost in the state semifinals, and this year they made it to the finals. And unfortunately, on Saturday night, they up in Jacksonville, they lost to Miami Columbus, 53-50 in a very tough game. Miami Columbus, just to let you know, is a 5 consecutive time winner of the 7A state championship in boys basketball. So, and we see them in football, we see them in all the sports. Unique situation with Columbus being an all boys school, and so that I think there's a certain amount of people in the Miami area that they know their athletes or their sons in this case are going to get a great education along with a great opportunity at an athletic scholarship or just continuing the athletic career further and further. So congratulations to Columbus, but let's say a big round of applause for the Sarasota Sailors.
Yes.
Wasn't there, obviously read a little bit about it. Star guard Johnny Lakaff. I hope I'm saying it right. I hope I don't hurt anybody's feelings with my inability to pronounce last names. 27 points in a loss. Had a chance at a 3 from the corner to tie it up late in the game. But again, you'd love to be in that shot, a chance to get that shot. I read a little quote from him. He was ready to take that shot. Thought he felt like he had it. And you love to hear that confidence in a young athlete. Give me the ball. Let me take a shot at it. And just came a little bit short. But hats off to the Sarasota Sailors boys basketball team. State final game and lost to a worthy opponent.
Tournaments in Jacksonville. Why don't you put it in Pensacola, get it further away? Wow, it used to be in Lakeland. That was a nice central location. They had a nice arena. Um, Interesting that the tournament is now in Jacksonville.
Well, Rich, before we always have a chat before we start our podcast.
Mhm.
And before we started our podcast, we had a little FHSAA conversation. And let's just say it wasn't the most glowing report report card for the FHSAA overall. Some decisions that are made over the years, easy solutions to certain problems they don't want to do. They like putting things out for bid so that somebody can come up there and say, hey, I'm going to give you an extra this or that, or whatever that case may be.
Yep.
Maybe it's maybe they think that everybody should get a shot at it. But you and I know Florida is a humongous state.
Yes,
okay?
it is.
It's huge from tip to tip. If you were in Pensacola or what the Alabama, Florida line, and you drove to Key West, it's about a 14.5-hour drive. And you stretch that out, Rich, that's going to take you from, if you were leaving from Venice to go to New York City, about 2 hours outside of New York City. So you think of the all the area and population in that area, and you think about how you've stretched these places out. Put it in as centrally as you can put it. Why make it hard for teams and everybody to get there? Fan base especially, something special like that. Gosh, I just don't understand it. But again, maybe for smarter people than us, I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe they know something we don't. But of course, we know.
Yeah, there was more money in Jacksonville. You said it. Everything is driven by money. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and our comparison was the NCAA with the football not being able to get rid of bowl games for all these years and playoffs couldn't happen because student athletes needed to study and they were missing finals and all that other crap. And all it was them making money and feeding the beast of the bowl games because they were the money people as well. So and the kids it was great. They loved it. They got a goodie bag, a couple T-shirts, maybe a watch if they were lucky, that kind of thing. And boy, everybody else was just lining their pockets with money when it came to that. But they're still doing it now. They just switch because there's more money, available. Right. That's all.
And all the other classifications where it's truly school because there's not, there's not, scholarships in most of those classifications.
Yeah.
They managed to get through it, and they managed to have all the games. It's incredible. It's incredible.
It's just the injuries don't go. It's just amazing how it can work out. So, but they think we're all a little foolish. You know what I mean? We're easy to hoodwink.
Well, March Madness is upon us. It's been upon us for a couple of weeks, but the brackets were revealed yesterday. Probably one of the most anticlimactic bracket reveals ever. To be truthfully honest with you, the teams that were supposedly left out: Bruce Pearl, Auburn. How about winning a couple more games? You're a game over 500, and you're bitching about the fact that you couldn't make it in the tournament over a team that was 31-1. I mean, I don't. If I'm CBS, and I know they want to have eyeballs and. The controversy stirs up some ratings, but man, oh man, he sounds like an idiot. At least to me.
It is an idiot situation. Think about this. We talk about the high school level, having tough schedule, getting points. There's a lot of positives to doing the tough schedule. Auburn went out there and had a tough schedule. But if you had 31 tough games and you lost them all, you don't get to go go. There's got to be a line. You know what I mean? So if he's got one game over 500, that means he's losing games in conference. Okay.
Right.
And not everybody in the conference is a quad one loss.
Right.
Okay. So you got to count all that stuff. They had a great win against Florida. I give them credit, tip the cap on the road, but that's one game.
Right.
You look at the comparison to resumes. It doesn't add up. Look, it was close, but the eye test even shows it. You look at Auburn play, and there was not. They didn't look like a team that just had a bad run. They look like a team that they were. They're a 500 basketball team. That doesn't get you into the dance. That's too bad. I mean, I get you're gonna try to bang the drum for your folks, but that's a stupid argument.
Yeah, and they had a 10-point lead midway through the second half against Tennessee in that SEC tournament game and lost. So. Right. You had your opportunity. You win that game, you maybe win another game, and now your case is better. But you blow that game and it's all over. Enough about Auburn. right? We got teams that
Yeah,
are
we got
actually
more
in the
bigger
tournament.
fish to fry. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Teams that are in the tournament. The 4-1 seeds, as we expected, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Florida. The order changed a little bit. Michigan was, according to the committee, the second one seed.
Right.
They
right.
lost to Purdue Sunday in the conference final in Chicago, and they dropped to the third best one seed. And Arizona moved up by winning their tournament. What a tournament Arizona had. As it turns out, the Big 12, wow, that is some conference. Arizona had to beat two number 2 seeds, Iowa State, on a jumper in the corner at the buzzer, which was a great shot. And they had to beat a Houston team that was, obviously very good, quite motivated. You win that tournament, you deserve to move up. Duke stays up, John, because, they won their tournament without two of their best players, 2 starters. And Florida State, everybody talked about it. Florida State was the team that had the best chance to knock them off, and they came so close in that quarterfinal game. But Duke ended up winning the tournament. I think the seeds are exactly as they should have been.
I totally agree. It was locked from last week. It was hard to look at it any other way. Again, top seeds in those you'd like to say that everybody's motivated to win a conference championship, and I think that most teams are. But you start getting into those tournaments. So you talked about the Big 12, but even the Big 10, SEC, ACC, it's a tough road to get to that tournament championship. And I think sometimes maybe there's a tad bit of complacency in some of these higher seeds going into these tournaments. And you and I talked about it last week. Is it better to get a couple of days off and get yourself ready to go, even though you're going to play a 16 seed? Man, you're rolling into the first weekend in the 32 round, and that's the first tough game you're going to play maybe in 10, 12 days, and you've played a tough schedule throughout the conference. It's not the worst thing in the world. That it's planned, and nobody's tanking, but there's something to be said about maybe there's a little bit something different with that. So tip of the cap to all those conference championships. Arkansas had a great run there.
Yes.
Arizona did win obviously as well. Then you had Purdue, obviously Purdue. And then
they got themselves on the 2 line with that. I think, and the committee chair admitted it. They were below Michigan State, and they basically flip-flopped.
Yeah, I agree. And so, but again, looking at it, the ones were going to be the ones. I didn't think there was going to be any change in those particular situations. I do get the flop on the 2-3 seed, but overall, I think it's okay. And if you look at the 2 line, Rich, it's
a stacked
really
2 line.
A stacked 2 line is right. One thing I will say, and I know we're trying to, got a lot to do today, but I'm going to go specifics to everybody. I thought St. John's got robbed. I think they were one of the worst seeds I saw. 19-1 the last 20 games, and they go out there and just boat race Connecticut for the second time in a couple of weeks, and they get a 5. A 5. But if they're a 5, it tells you that there might be 20 teams legitimately that you shouldn't be surprised that can make it to the Final Four.
Well, they won 19 of 20, but in a weak conference. They had chances in November and December out of conference and didn't win any of them. I think that was part of the thing. The thing that concerns me, not only were they a 5, and listen, I heard an interview with Rick Pitino last night on Sirius XM. They had him on, and he thought he was a 4 or a 5, and he had no problem being a 5. The problem he has is he's going to Portland, and then he's in the West, and I agree with that. I mean, okay, he's a 5, but to send him all the way out there, and then they're going to play out in California, I think, I have everything printed here, but they're basically going to have to stay out west for 2 weeks and pull some rabbits out of their hat to win the conference tournament. So that's the part I have an issue with. I don't necessarily have an issue with them being a 5 in the sense that I kind of look at their resume. And again, it's the Auburn thing. They had plenty of opportunities to win non-conference games. They scheduled very well. They just didn't win any of them.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it's just, like I said, how they ended, and everybody else kind of got a couple of people got the bump to the 2 based on their performance as well. So, and they won the championship. So that was a big deal. One other thing real quick I'm going to get to, and I know I'm probably leaping ahead on one of this here too, but I'm disappointed that USF goes out and wins the tournament and gets they get a 10 seed or an 11 seed.
They got an 11 seed.
Didn't like that at all. I thought that was unfair for a conference champion to only get the 11 after they won the regular season as well. I get it. There's a lot of good teams that are in the Power 4 conferences that deserve some slotting, but that was a low spot for me. I thought that they deserved a lot better than that.
Well, again, the Americans a one bid league, and those one bid leagues basically live in the 11, 12, 13, and then of course, obviously the real small ones down low. I would think that that's going to be a situation where USF's going to try to fix that by getting into a bigger conference soon. I've heard some whispers about the Big East, but the bigger whispers to me would be the ACC. Absolutely. And even though the ACC is not what it used to be, it certainly is a lot better. And, they were going to be a 25 win team without a shot in the tournament, kind of like Yale was in the Ivy League. The Yale had a stranglehold on their game, and they allowed 2 threes late. They don't foul, and they end up losing in overtime, and they don't even get in.
Right.
And again, this is the haves and the have-nots. How do you fix this? I've heard this, and I like this thing. You leave an open week in February if you're one of the mid-major conferences, and you schedule, top against top, second against second, to try to get some quad 1 wins.
But
that's because nobody wants to play a South Florida. Nobody wants to play a Yale. They avoid these teams like the plague. All those games that you and I yell about, great games, Michigan, Duke, and DC, all those in-season games, but those are all big boys against big boys. Nobody wants to touch a mid-major. Nobody wants to play in Akron or Miami of Ohio, and this is what we're left with.
Right, you're 100% right. And like I said, but I mean, I honestly, I get it all, and I know it, and I know everything is built for the Power 4 conferences. Yep. Even the idea about expansion, which we won't even get into, but they're like, just have everybody make it at that point. It's kind of silly. It totally dilutes the regular season by doing something like that.
We just talked about it. This year's Field of 68 was about as clear cut as humanly. You can't expand into this. You're going to start taking teams with 500 or losing records. No, come on. I think it's where it needs to be, and the mid majors are going to have to figure out a way, either early in the season or like I said, in February. You get the American and the A10, the best against the best, second against you schedule the game a couple of weeks out.
And that's fair.
There's no doubt about that. You can end up getting a quad 1 win. That way. The 3 seeds: Michigan State, Gonzaga, Virginia, and Illinois. Virginia, the ACC was okay. I know they got to the championship game of the ACC, but I don't know. Maybe that's the only one I have a quibble with.
Virginia's style doesn't help them. You know what I mean? There's the stylistically. So, but I think being the runner-up in the tournament had some juice on that for them.
Yep. The 4 seeds are Nebraska, Alabama, Arkansas, and Kansas. Kansas strikes me as a very dangerous 4 seed. If Patterson gets his stuff together and they play like they can, that's a team that could make a run from the 4 line. Arkansas, they're really good. Depends again. It all depends on matchups. Nebraska's trying to win their first ever NCAA tournament game.
I know, as good as they are.
Troy has got to be right, and Troy has got to be sitting there going, licking their chops, going, okay, we're gonna, all you have to do is put a little pressure on a team like that, and things start to get a little tight.
No doubt about it. Real quick on Kansas, like you mentioned, Kansas. Show me the first game, and I'll tell you what Kansas is going to be. They could lose the first game.
Sure, they can. Yes.
If they come out and they just whip some ass and get out there and have a great first game, look out. The momentum they could get to, they're definitely they're a Sweet 16 team. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, if they play their game, we'll have to see about how that works out. And again, you mentioned Arkansas and other schools. There's a lot of very talented basketball teams out there that just haven't put it together on a consistent basis. So there's a chance for a few teams to really have that you might not expect to see, but making some runs.
Well, John, you have Kansas is going to play Cal Baptist in the first round, the 13. But if they win and St. John's win, that's a second round game.
That's what I'm talking about. It's going to
That
be.
is.
You're looking
That's
at
gonna
that.
put a very good team out.
That's where that 5 becomes a problem, right?
Yep.
For them, and it's that round, and then you get the you get Kansas on there, and boy, a battle of styles, a battle of coaches.
A couple of decent coaches, Self and Patino.
So
a couple of wins there.
Hell of a watch on next Saturday. It'd be a great watch if you're not watching the Valspar.
Yeah, that actually would be a Sunday game. That's even better.
Oh, really? Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they're Friday,
Even
Sunday.
better.
They're Friday, Sunday. So
yeah.
All right. As far as the teams in the state, Miami is a 7 seed, and they end up going to Missouri. That game's in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, a 10 seed gets a quasi home game.
This might be payback for the football team getting,
I guess,
something. They can't give you every good spot there. And Miami was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Miami was the one that thought they could tend to the ACC championship, and now they're down to a 7 seed. So we'll see how they do. I think they'll win a few. I think they'll win at least one. That's
okay.
But I wouldn't see them losing that game, but we'll have to see how they play.
By the way, that's the last game on Friday night, 10-10 on True TV. So they got to wait as long. They got to wait as long as anybody. UCF is a 10 seed. They didn't give Arizona very much of a game. I think that game was like 30-8 early. Arizona's just playing tremendous. They draw UCLA. That's also a Friday night game on TBS 725. UCLA is the classic hot and cold team. So I think UCF's got a puncher's chance in that game.
Oh, absolutely. I thought there was an injury to one of the better players.
Yes, UCLA. Yes, one of their best players. You're absolutely right.
And so they're going to. Yeah, so we'll see. And UCF's got again. They are athletic. They run well. They are. I've watched them a few times this year. They're a team that I would be a little afraid of them if they were to advance after the first round or so. Just make sure you don't come and think that's UCF is some sort of that's just not just going to roll it out there. They're good. They're very good.
Gators did get to go to Tampa. They're going to play at Benchmark Arena. They'll host the winner of the Prairie View A&M Lehigh game, the play-in game. That is also going to be a Friday night. That's the last game in Tampa, 9:25 on TNT. And let me see my bracket here. If they win that one, their second round game would be against the Clemson, Iowa winner. I don't think that poses much of a threat to Florida personally.
No, I wouldn't be. I watched Clemson play. They got a couple of guys, but there wasn't anybody popping off the page for Clemson for me. They played pretty well there. I think they're a mid-range ACC team at this point. And Iowa, nothing with Iowa is really something that should worry Florida. I think Sweet 16 should be in their wheelhouse.
And then we talked about USF, 11 seed. They're playing 6 seed Louisville, 1:30 on Thursday. So they're in the first set of games on Thursday. That's a TNT game. I think that's stylistically, a good matchup for USF. What a tremendous story. Their coach, at least for now, Brian Hodgson.
Right.
Hodgson, I always say his name wrong, is from Buffalo, requested to go to Buffalo. His dad is very ill and has never seen him coach.
Okay.
He's going to be in the arena for the first time on Thursday. You talk about an emotional game.
Yeah,
I think that could carry USF to an opening round win.
And I think not just that side of it, but saying really we're in 11. I get that but there's some motivation there. They had a very good year. And again, watching them play, I hate to always compare USF and UCF. They're just down the road from each other. Yeah. But stylistically, they kind of play the same little way. The ball gets around to different guys. They rebound. They run a fast break. They can finish on the break. They're a good team. They rolled through that championship. There was never a doubt. They
only played about a C. Yeah, and John, they only played about a C+ game. They didn't shoot it well from 3. They're usually better than that. They missed. I was watching the first 30 minutes of that game, they missed a lot of bunnies down low. I mean, they finished those, and that's not even a game.
Right.
So, they were clearly the best team in the American, and I think they get a favorable matchup against Louisville. As a matter of fact, you might hear about this game a little later on.
There you go. I like to hear that. I will say this too about USF. You're talking about the ACC. You look at USF. What they lack right now are the facilities. Now, you look at what UCF did. UCF made a big move years ago. Campus, stadium on campus, beautiful arena. Really, the campus itself is it's phenomenal. It's a lot of schools in the bigger cities. They're commuter schools as opposed to having that big campus feel. UCF is not that, and they've got themselves in the Big 12. All USF has to do this. They got the football stadium coming. They got good coaches. They got a good guy leading the charge in the athletic department. Just make the show look good.
Yeah.
Pack that house out for basketball. Baseball made a run not long ago. USF softball is.
Oh, they're off to a great start this year.
Yeah, they're good. And so I think that they are. If SMU is an ACC school, in Dallas. Look at their stadium. It's nothing fancy in their stadium and everything else.
Nope.
There's nothing. But if SMU can be in there from being in Texas, then USF and somebody else that can drag along with them should be in the ACC.
No question about it.
Get those facilities done.
Yep, they'll get them done. And they apparently are now the farm system for coaches. Because, again, we talked about Brian Hodgson. He's actually got a choice, according to everything that I'm reading. He can either go to Providence or Syracuse. And a lot of people think it's going to be Syracuse. I don't know if it's that much of a slam dunk. Just looking into the NIL, John, when you're a coach now, you got to consider that. What's your NIL budget? What kind of players can you garner? And currently, Jim Boeheim was on ACC Network. I watched a lot of that coverage because I was watching the ACC tournament in the early rounds. And Jim Boeheim did not pull punches. He feels that Syracuse is far under budgeted for NIL for basketball. And he called them out on it. And, Providence may have a bigger NIL budget, which will make this a little bit of a tougher decision. I mean, you look at it on the surface, you go, oh, of course, Syracuse, bigger conference, better. But listen, again, the NIL budget is everything these days.
And losing coaches goalish. Now you're looking at another coach that's going to leave. That's been successful. That's why I say a push by USF has to be done, because you got to put yourself in the ACC. He ain't leaving.
Yeah, that is correct.
And money's going to come in. Now you're part of it. I'm of a fan base that I'm wearing my orange today in honor of the Gators, but also in honor of the Broncos, since I'm here and since it's similar.
That's right, Orange Crush, baby.
But you look at what the ACC kind of bring for USF. Gosh, I mean, it would mean the world to them. And I think that. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Rich, help me out here. Where was I going?
Right. Listen, Rob Higgins is working on it. I'm telling you right now, and I have no problem. Good on Hodge. He gets a nice job. He gets to go. I guarantee. I have no problem. Higgins is hitting home runs on hire since he's been the. I guess you want to call him the CEO.
My brain's working again, Rich.
Okay.
So what I was going to say is that I'm a fan of the Florida Gators. I have season tickets, everything else, but I'm a UCF grad, and everybody's like, you have to have your allegiances and this and that. But remember, when I was in school, and I'm 60 years old now, USF and UCF didn't play Division I anything. Division III to Division II, then 1AA. So you could root for your team, USF or UCF, but your money was going to other places because that was the big stadium and the big games and everything else. But now when you can be in the ACC, which I was getting, you can start bringing bigger games in, and then there's boosters like me that say, hey, you know what? I'm going to the USF game. Hey, you know what? My business is going to buy USF tickets and boxes and you name everything else. And then, of course, there's how big these schools have gotten over the years. I graduated UCF. It was like 15,000 students. Now something like 70,000 are on campus. Right? Yeah, it's crazy. but you're seeing that now. And so these schools get them in there so they can get hey, let's go. Guess who's coming to town? It's Duke. It's NC State. It's everybody, all these names that have
North Carolina, Bill Belichick.
Right. That's what you start to look at, and you say, okay, it's valid. It's validating as possibly can be. So the big conference move and facilities, and then of course the fan base is growing, and then the old school fan bases with some money that want to spend it will spend it. And don't listen. What better a thing to go to a couple of USF games, a couple of Florida State games. It's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. So
yeah, Florida State, they'll look at USF. Last time Florida State and USF played, I believe USF beat them.
They did. No, listen, UCF and USF have been beating everybody. So there's no doubt about that. Rich, I was looking at the shot sheet. One other thing I know that we talked about a little bit last week, and you kind of predicted it might happen, but Miami of Ohio loses in the first round. Okay. And almost don't make they were Final Four in. They were an 11th seed. I was surprised by that because I know you said, man, if they lose, they might not make it. And I was a little surprised. I'm like, no, you can't win that many games. But I guess if you lose the first one, that's the worst one. Losing the championship game, maybe they wouldn't have been so harsh on them. But they got in, and that was probably one spot that maybe Oklahoma or somebody may have gotten because two from the MAC is what ended up happening.
Yeah, well, Akron's a very good team. And I mean, again, I talked about this last week. The MAC was always a sexy upset pick, because they would be a 12 or a 13, and they would play a major school that maybe finished middle of the pack in their conference. And, this is the opportunity. And when these games happen, this is why they won't schedule these games, because they compete in the tournament. So by the way, I know it would be a couple of upsets, but you could see a Sweet 16 between USF and UCF.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
That would be a 10-11.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
That would be something. Would be something. Of course, it would be where the hell would I think it would be out west. Anyway. All right. The play-in games, we were talking about them. Texas and NC State's the Tuesday night play-in game. I was kind of surprised that Texas got in, but again, the bubble was so weak. Yeah. They were in, they lost, everybody else lost. And NC State, I think, has lost 7 in a row going into the tournament.
Yeah.
By the way, that's Barkley and Vital on the call.
Isn't that great?
That's great. Yeah, I think they did a game earlier this year, and might have been NBA. No,
it was. You're right. Because when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, they've done that before. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's bucket list for both of them. So good on Turner and whoever's in charge of the tournament, CBS, to get them together. So they're going to do the Tuesday night late game between Texas and NC State. And then the Wednesday playing game is Miami and SMU. So there you have it. Fill in your brackets accordingly.
We've talked about coverage like the Olympics, how good the Olympics were this year, how Peacock and NBC did a great job. Every year, the way that they set up the tournament, regarding at CBS and TNT, TBS, True TV, whatever it is, you can't. They have not only can you flip this. Now this is I guess real quick. This is where the Netflix world can kiss my ass because you got to go flipping around and you got to. I mean, I can get quad boxes going. I got everything else, but even with that, you can't beat that ability to go through those games and be checking everything out. It is phenomenal watching. Not just for the first weekend, the second weekend as well. It's really good, and the quality of the second and third studio people is unbelievable. They're all they have a great mix of people that they have. They just do a great job, and then you roll out. Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley and Shaq and Ernie Johnson. You're like, come on, man, that is so good. And they're rooting for their teams. I mean, Kenny Smith, he's all in North Carolina. Barkley's going to be complaining about Auburn not getting it, I'm sure.
Of course.
Shaq and LSU, forget about that. But still, all that different stuff is out there, and it makes for just an unbelievable watch. Take the weekend. Sports fans, you gotta get out of work early on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
It's fun not to.
By the way, that's the other thing they do, which I think is great. The scores are listed constantly. So if you see a game going down the stretch, 2 minutes to go. It's a 1-point game. You just boom, you go to the game,
and it tells you what channel it tells you. It's
yes,
on, you don't have to worry.
Right,
Boom.
it's great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Yeah, I love this time of year. So it'll be a fun couple of weeks as we get into the first and second round in the Sweet 16. I even enjoy the play-in. It's kind of hard to watch those 16 versus 16 games,
yeah.
but the other games both have some intrigue. In the
they do.
question again, Miami of Ohio, chance to get into the body of the field with a victory over SMU. All right, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, helping to bring you the 941 Sports Zone. 941-251-4257 is the number. 941-251-4257. Locally owned, nationally backed, means they got plenty of not only the dough, but they also have the certificates to back.
Yes.
They're
legit.
Yes, they're legit. Thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right. NFL free agency. This has been just it's the gift that keeps on giving almost on a daily basis.
Every day. You can't.
And I mentioned earlier, I got some, obviously we're going to, since the Bucs are the local team, we're going to focus on them a little bit, but we're going to also, focus on, some of the big names, some of the stuff that's been happening, the quarterbacks. I just saw something on breaking news as I've got ESPN up. You see my eyes kind of go up. Apparently, Justin Fields is going to head to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the latest.
Well, if anybody can get him figured out, if you want to call it that, like maybe Andy Reid could. We'll see. I mean, the guy's got so much potential. He has an arm. He can throw, but his decision making is just not there. And that goes along with that idea that those athletes / quarterback kind of guys, especially in college, they don't have to make more than one read. You know what I mean? The second read is run, and that's what they do. And so when you clog it up and there's nothing there, and you're able to make tackles and whatnot, I mean, go through all these high draft picks that have the same pedigree that Justin Fields did, Anthony Richardson, you name the guys. They struggle with their progressions, and I think that that's where Justin Fields has had a problem for a long time. Nobody did him any favors at Ohio State when they put him ball in his hand and told him to run and do what he needed to do, and now he's not able to do it in the NFL.
All right, the Bucs. Well, they've had an interesting offseason. We were on the air. No, it happened just after we left, I think, our podcast when Mike Evans officially signed with San Francisco. I remember you texting me. So it was like literally 5 minutes after we had finished. Mike Evans is a 49er, an interesting decision in a couple of ways. And he said some things out the door, and then also not just out the door, but he doubled down on it a little bit, basically saying that he's going to San Francisco because he feels he has a chance to win. And he's not the only Buck that has left in the last week or two that has literally, and I mean, that is right on the coaching staff and specifically head coach Todd Bowles. I remember Evans, that Thursday night game against Atlanta, when they gave up the 3rd and 28 and the 4th and 14, and Atlanta ended up kicking the field goal to beat the Bucs. And he was incredibly despondent, banging his helmet up against the wall as he was walking back to the locker room. I think that might have been the game that opened his eyes, that he just doesn't think it's going to happen here defensively. I mean, why else would you go to California and leave half your paycheck to Uncle Sam? I mean, seriously, he's getting $20 million a year for 3 years, and yet he's playing in California. And we already talked about that during Super Bowl. They got that what is it? The millionaires tax. They got sports tax, all kinds of taxes. But I mean, that says as much as the words that came out of his mouth, John.
No, it's definitely there. And we've talked about this, since we started the podcast 30 weeks ago, and it was a major focus about the Bucs all season. Is that is Todd Bowles the guy? And I'm not of belief that he is. And I think that they've, I appreciate that Bruce Arians and Todd Light were trying to set him up, teed him up as far as giving him a team and the opportunity to learn under Arians a little bit more about head coaching or whatever it may be, but it just doesn't work. Their success has all about getting great offensive coordinators. Honestly, it's been that. The reclamation of Baker Mayfield happened right in front of us. I'm looking at the list of players that you had sent over to me that they've signed. Sean Tucker, Cade Otton re-signed, those guys right there. But you got Anzalone on the inside. Kenneth Gainwell is a good running back.
I like that signing a lot.
I like that. That's an upgrade. And nothing against Bucky Irving, but that's an upgrade right there, Kenneth Gainwell. Ashawn Robinson, Jake Browning, that's Baker Mayfield the second. They're the same, they built the same way. They're gunslingers and the whole deal. So same guy. Killebrew at safety, and then on.
He's a special teams guy, yeah.
Yeah, but the idea, Rich, everybody said, these guys, they're reloading on offense. They're reloading on and where they need to get these guys. So I don't think it's a talent issue. I think the receiver room is pretty much loaded. O-line is good. I mean, you got Tristan Wirfs. You're good. You're good. Your line's going to be really good with that start as the anchor right there.
Stay healthy. There's your big if.
There's no doubt. And it's coming down to defense and defensive scheme, and it's just very difficult to watch. I watched it for years. Bend, don't break, and then you get to the inside the 20, and then you break.
Yeah.
Because you're blitzing or you're doing something that totally. If you want to blitz on the 50-yard line, why are you blitzing on the 5? It's just you just look at certain things and you just kind of rub your head and you're thinking like, what? I get it in some cases, but it's down the stretch in these games that the Bucs defense can't hold teams back. There's something lacking, and we're talking about this in March. What are we going to talk about? It's middle of October. I don't know. I really don't know. I know people don't want to make a switch. I know could be a 2 or 3 year process to get back to where you are. But right now if it wasn't for you being in the worst division in football, potentially, you wouldn't be in the playoffs. Because you're not beating up on lesser teams and whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, again, I was a proponent of making a change at the top, but Jason Light and the gang decided to stay with him. The defense has struggled. To me, they lost 2 of their best back 4 guys. Christian Izzian, when he's healthy, he was a tremendous safety, in my opinion. He goes to the Lions, and it's not on the sheet, but Jamel Dean is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he's probably their best cover corner. A defense that was struggling is going to struggle more.
And Pittsburgh's defense is predicated on pass rush. Jamel Dean's the right guy for that kind of system too, because he's going to be able to cover man to man. He's a bigger corner, if I'm not mistaken, and he's I think he'll do fine in Pittsburgh. It seems like guys that go to Pittsburgh, they're revitalized by that black and gold, and they end up playing a lot better on defense, especially.
We had the big controversy last week. The Ravens calling off the deal for Max Crosby.
That happened right after the podcast too, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, and then they pivoted, and the next day they signed Trey Hendrickson to a big contract, and they came out and said they're trying to save a little face. Said they were actually going to sign both. I don't know under what salary cap that was going to happen, but nonetheless, they were able to pivot well. They did lose their center, Tyler Linderbaum, to the Raiders. He's a young guy. That surprised me that they let him go. But again, they're under a new regime, so they might want to make some changes.
Listen, you go back to the Max Crosby thing. I'm calling bullshit on that because I think everybody is too. I don't think everybody everybody knew he had surgery. There was no secret about this. Recovery is always going to be a question mark.
Right.
Okay. It could be, what is it going to be that day, this exact day? No, you're hoping for the best. Max Crosby is a well-tuned athlete. He's probably going to get better quicker, but you're going to make judgments based on that. That's a lie. You've looked around, and Hendrickson, there was like, he's not getting gobbled up for $40 million. The price tag for him was near $30 million. Okay, we can get this guy and not give up 2 number ones to get him.
I think there was buyer's remorse. I agree with you.
100%. And for Baltimore, which I thought is a very good organization in the front office. Okay, to pull this maneuver, getting rid of John Harbaugh, I can get it. What you pick. Listen, they're going to say this years from now. It was Lamar or it was John Harbaugh. That's it. Okay.
Right.
So you said, okay, Harbaugh's been here a long time, fresh blood. Lamar's still the guy. We're going to do this. Okay, I can live with that, but I can't live with it. The lie. That's to me, it's a lie. Tell them, say, yeah, you know what? But you can't. Obviously, you can't say
right. No, you can't.
You would never trade with you ever again. But the idea is that I think that's crazy. Is it 1A, 1B with those guys? I don't know. I've seen some comparisons where Crosby's a better run guy. Hendrickson's more of just he's a pass rusher and he can do a little bit more than that, but that's about it. So who knows if that's what they need or didn't need. I'm not really going to get into how well he works in Baltimore. I just think the manner in which they went around the actual transaction was bullshit.
Yeah. I can't argue with anything you said. A couple of quarterbacks moving, several actually. Malik Willis is now a Dolphin. That was no surprise. Kyler Murray to the Vikings.
Yeah.
That's an interesting move because a lot of people think he's going to be QB1, and that's going to put the Michigan kid out behind him. That's an interesting move right there. I'm kind of going to look at that for a while. I got a friend who's a huge Viking fan, and he's not really sure. I mean, Kyler Murray, has he plateaued, or does KOC, Kevin O'Connell, get a hold of him and make him better?
To me, this is like you somebody say, I got to blow up a bridge, and instead of using dynamite, you use a nuclear warhead. Okay, because Kyler Murray is going to come in there and he's either going to be absolutely explosive and be running and throwing and you name it, like he can do. He's got something to prove, or he's going to be the same Kyler Murray he's been for the last 5 years, which is a guy who looks super unmotivated. You know, just sometimes, I mean, body language and facial expressions go a long way to me, Rich.
Yeah.
If somebody looks at me and goes, "No, I'm really happy," I don't look happy, do I? Right?
No, you're not at all.
Kyler Murray doesn't look happy. Kyler Murray looks like he's a reluctant superstar, if you want to call it that. So you go to Minnesota, you're going to have the coach. There's no argument about the coach, right? We all think that Kevin O'Connell is the guy, right? As far as that's concerned,
quarterback whisperer,
right? And he's got Justin Jefferson to throw to. Look, he's going to have all opportunities to be great.
Yep.
Okay, in a tough division, mind you. I give you that, but great. And so is it going to be either way? There's going to be some sort of massive explosion. It's either be a massively bad thing or it could be a massively good thing. I don't see any in between. I don't see any like 9-8 kind of deal. I don't see that. I see some sort of big deal with that. And I look forward to it. I think Minnesota's going to get a lot of run on it too as well. So we'll see. By the way, we should be talking about Geno Smith, right? Isn't that where we're really going to go with this whole conversation?
Your thoughts there, Mr. Jet?
I'm not totally upset at it. I don't know. You got to get a bridge quarterback. Everybody knows the quarterback class next year is going to be great. The Jets should not be giving up any draft picks because you're going to need to give them up next year. Do you want Arch and God? I could go down the list of quarterbacks right now if we want to. But where do you want to go with this? I think the quarterback class next year could be 83-esque. And it's with some of the, you've got 4 guys that you think are going to be no starters on day one. It's a matter of which one you like. And in 83, Ken O'Brien was better than Dan Marino, according to my New York Jets. Yes. So you don't know what's going to happen with this, but Geno Smith.
You beat me to it, by the way. I was just getting ready to say that, and you, as
Ken
a Jets
O'Brien,
fan, the scars are.
Yeah, he was at a Cal Davis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But the whole idea is that no, I think it's a bridge guy. He's a competent guy. Look, build your team. Go get that wide receiver. Go get that rush end or whatever you want to get in that situation. Don't be thrown. I will tell you this, just real quick, and we'll talk a lot more about this coming in the draft. If I'm the Jets, I'm trading down with that first guy because you got a lot of rush DNs in this draft. Reese might be the best, but is Bailey not number 2? Very close number 2. And there might be somebody else. Jeremiah Love is going to be up. People are going to want to jump maybe to get him. I would be talking to people and seeing if I'll go down 2 or 3 or 4 spots, still get my D end and be happy to go that route.
Well, as long as you got somebody, you got to have a dance partner to go down. That's the important thing.
That's
So,
that's the truth.
yeah. Tua lands in Atlanta. Kevin Stefanski. We got two lefty quarterbacks there now.
No,
Penix and Tua.
no.
Who
I'm
wins?
I'm just not too a fan because that he's not a decent human being and he can play some quarterback. It's the injury factor, Rich. I mean, Miami play with this guy's life, like life and death in some ways. Okay, and sometimes you're going to be better than that for your player. I think I've talked about this before, and it's just going to be a scary proposition wherever he goes. He doesn't have the arm strength. Anybody can tell you a million times over. He just doesn't. I think he's a heady guy. I think he understands the game very well. I think he could do well with Stefanski, but I think it's going to be an injury issue with him. And it looks like Penix might be the same guy.
Listen, Penix is not the most durable guy either, John.
No.
He's had both knees operated on. He ended the year last year on IR. So they got two very fragile quarterbacks. And as a Bucs fan, I'm like, okay, yeah, go ahead and run with them. You might get half a year out of them. Meanwhile, you got Kirk Cousins just sitting on the sidelines, and I think he's sitting waiting for the first big injury. I honestly believe that. I first of all, I'm sure he doesn't want to go through camp, and second of all, he's gonna cherry pick where he goes.
Sure, because it's like this. There's got to be some analytic salary thing where they can look at Kirk Cousins and say he did less for more than any person ever in the history of the NFL. I mean, you know what I mean?
The guaranteed contract. He's the guy.
Absolutely. He put together the guaranteed contract, which destroyed the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson. Right? It destroyed everybody. It's the worst. But he ushered it in, and you wouldn't think he'd be the guy to do it, would you? You would think that would be a Pat Mahomes or somebody like that would do. Maybe Josh Allen. We got to guarantee these guys because they're running around beating their brains. And Lamar Jackson, maybe same thing, right? But the idea is like, oh my gosh, like Kirk Cousins he's just sitting back. I think he's got to get a chuckle out of it. He's just printing money.
Yes.
And the end of his tenure, people are going to go, what'd you do? I was an NFL quarterback. Did you have success? I sure did, but I had more success in the bank than I did from the football field. I was cashing checks.
The Atlanta Falcons were 6-3 with him as a starter last year. That doesn't go unnoticed.
But you know what it is about him too? So all the joking aside, he knows how to win. You don't have to be, like the 400-yard throwing guy. This okay. I'm going to double back to something. This is the Josh Allen thing with me. Okay. It's not all about you. Okay. It's just not. And once you figure that out, John Elway did, Dan Marino didn't. Look at how it went, right? They didn't these guys would figure it out. It's not about me only. Pat Mahomes is a really good player, but if you watch him play, it's Pacheco with a little flip pass. It's Kelsey 10 yards down the field. It's Hill running a streak down the sideline. It's him running for a first down. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not every time it's 3rd and 10, but whenever he needs to, right? You figure out what it takes to win the football game. And I think Kirk Cousins is sort of that guy. He can figure it out. Give him some time. He'll figure it out. But sometimes that's not what the NFL or the teams want. They want flash. They want that kind of thing. And he's not flash. He's just solid.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, it's not Pacheco anymore. It's Kenneth Walker for the Chiefs. I think that's a steal, in my opinion.
Scary steal to me.
Yeah.
If I'm here in Bronco country, nobody wanted to see that guy land in their division.
Right.
He's going to make a difference for sure right off the bat. I mean, you start with all the guys that they had the last couple of years. You're like, you get him, and you're like, oh, okay, there we go. That makes some sense.
Romeo Doubs goes to the Patriots after they did nothing in day one. They were getting crucified on the radio here. They got Doubs. I mean, he's good. Is he a pure one? I don't think so. I think they still need a one.
He's the 40th ranked guy, and I just saw this yesterday. How things pop up, right? You see it. 40th guy ranked receiver in fantasy leagues. Okay, He's a 10 or 11 point guy in fantasy. Now I'm not trying to judge that. That's how they judge people in when they're trading for them. But he's a 2. He's a 2 that can get you a game or two where he gets 10 catches for 140 yards and a couple of TDs. He'll pile up some stats in some games, especially with Green Bay, because they had 5 or 6 guys they could rotate in and out. You wouldn't know they were a difference between any of them. And Dobbs, only reason you never recognize Dobbs, he had the kazoo helmet, the giant bubble helmets. What he had.
Yes.
You knew it was him on the field.
By the way, the Mighty Dog making an appearance on.
I didn't hear him. I got 2 Mighty Dogs here. I didn't hear him.
DJ Moore and Bradley Chubb to the Bills. I think the Bills did very well there. They needed a top flight receiver, and Moore's coming off a year, quite frankly, for him was subpar, barely 600 yards receiving. But when they needed a big catch, he delivers, and I think that's big because Buffalo's receiver room one of the weakest in the NFL.
They needed a pro to be out there catching the ball, which he is. Yep. He's going to give him. I mean, I don't think he's a 100 catch guy. I think he's a 50 to 60 catch guy, if that kind of thing. I think Chubb is a really good pick. You know what I mean? They tried to go the Joey Bosa route last year. I didn't like they pretended to be like they were like only one player away, and they were maybe more than one player away. They were losing players last year and not replacing them and made them vulnerable. And look what happens. 2 Patriots rocketed right by them at that point.
Jalen Phillips to the Panthers. The Eagles traded for him mid-season. He performed for them, but they didn't want to pay him the big money. You know what? Carolina, that's a big win for Carolina, in my opinion.
Carolina got a lot better. They're building something. Yep. If I'm looking at that division right now, Bucks, Falcons on the down, Saints and Panthers on the way up. Yeah. So it could be very competitive this year. Again, maybe not the best division, but there's some stuff definitely happening.
All right. Dallas Goedert re-signed with the Eagles earlier on Monday. And the Colts, boy, they rolled out the money for Daniel Jones.
Oh, they love him. I mean, all the pundits love him a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I remember back in the day that Danny Dimes, the Danny Dimes vernacular, Giant fans were all over Daniel Jones. And no, I think he's a more than competent quarterback. I think that he is by far and away when they were trying to figure out what to do with Anthony Richardson and him, it wasn't even a contest. So I like the Colts. They're getting better. I think they're going to be they were good last year. I think they might be better this year.
All right. And Alec Pierce, who was supposed to be one of the big prizes for wide receiver, re-signs with them. So they keep the band together a little bit. So
and they lost,
and we only scratched the surface. We could sit here and do an hour and a half show on just the free agents of all the teams. I just tried to highlight some of the bigger ones, the bigger names, and some staying, some going. So, again, the 941 Sports Zone brought to you by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. He's been making a big appearance here in the last 5 minutes or so. Locally owned, nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257, 941-251-4257.
Now, is your Mighty Dog more on the construction side of the business, or is he more the sales side of the business?
Sales, definitely sales.
Sales, yeah,
okay. No question about it. No question.
It.
World Baseball Classic. It's about to come to an end. You know, Team USA got a lot of criticism for the Italy game. In the preliminary round, it needed some help to get through. They needed Mexico to lose, which they did. Funny how the Italians, everybody just kind of looked at them and I can't believe we lost to Italy. They're the only undefeated team in this tournament.
Right. They're good.
Which is saying a lot. Sunday night, Team USA and the Dominican down in Miami. 50-50 stadium, maybe even 60-40 Dominican.
Absolutely 60-40. Yeah.
Yeah. Tremendous crowd, great atmosphere. Paul Skeens pitched really well. He left one up on 2 strikes to Junior Caminero of the Rays. Boy, has he had himself a tournament. And again, thank God.
The Rays always have guys that do well in this tournament.
Yeah. But he's 21, John.
Yeah.
21 or
Oh, I
22
know.
years old. So
Money's coming his way
he's going to
soon.
be around for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
He hits a home run to give the Dominican the lead off of Paul Skeens, who otherwise pitched very well for Team USA. And then Gunnar Henderson, Mark DeRosa's been just getting flambéed, and rightfully so. The fact that he thought his team was already in
Yes.
before just everything. But he made moves yesterday that actually won them the game, and this was one of them. He sat Alex Bregman for Gunnar Henderson because he has a very good history against Luis Severino.
There you go.
And in a 9-pitch at bat, he takes him deep to tie the game. And then Roman Anthony, who's everybody up here in Boston area is salivating over him. He had a tremendous, another kid that's 21, 22 years old.
Young,
lefty on lefty hits a bomb. And then the bullpen gets, I think it was 14 outs after Skeens left after 4 1/3.
I think you're right.
And Team USA wins 2-1. Was a little controversy in both the 8th and 9th innings of that game. And you might be hearing a little bit about that a little later during the show. But the game can't end on that pitch was clearly low. But nonetheless, big win for Team USA. They get into the finals. They certainly haven't hit the ball tremendously in this series, despite the lineup.
Listen, you're right. They were motivated. They 8-0 to Italy, right?
Yeah, it was 8-0. It ended up
8-6. They got panicky, and it became like they were having a batting practice. They're hitting fungo. Everybody's hitting the ball. So I think that pitching is always going to win these tournaments. You know that. We all know that. Right. There's always somebody gets hot, but the bats for the U.S. they need to be they need to be urgent about it. Let's just say, that needs to happen.
So Team USA will play the winner of the Monday night game. We're recording Monday morning between Venezuela and Italy. Venezuela knocked Japan, the defending champions, out. I watched a lot of that game on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They got guys thinking thump too. That should be an interesting game. If Italy can get through, the U.S. can get their revenge from the first round. And that game would be Tuesday night. Both those games are in Miami. What an atmosphere down in Miami. I guess if good baseball's played down there, people will actually come out and see it. I mean,
no doubt about it. No doubt. The baseball's problem isn't that the game is getting worse. It's getting better. It's worldwide. We know that for sure. The problem is that the game itself just doesn't lend itself to what the current market puts out there. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to watch baseball, and you've got so many games, dude. I mean, so many games. 162 games. You think about that. It's a lot of damn baseball games.
Sure is.
And it's hard to commit to the season. It is very hard to go and say, I'm going to be a season ticket holder and go to 81 games, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to watch 81 games. It's just hard to do. And in this day and age, there's too many other options out there. There's too many things going on. I mean, just to be Florida specific, we talk about it all the time. People want to go on their boats. People want to be outside in their pool. You know what I mean? They don't want to go to a baseball game at 7:00 at night with thunderstorms coming or whatever the case may be. So you're never going to dilute the product enough. The games mean too much to the owners. The money, like we talked about. But baseball would be so better suited if they chopped off a little bit in March and chopped off a little bit in October, played a May or an April, mid-April to September schedule. But we're talking about something that's a fantasy. It's never going to happen because it goes back to records. Baseball's about the numbers and the records. It's about the money and all that different stuff. So I get that. But sometimes that's when you say sometimes you got to cut the leg off to save the rest of the body. You know what I mean? And in this case, they're not prepared to or want to do any of that to really make baseball what it could be, and having some of these really unbelievable matchups in these games and condensing the season down.
But tremendous atmosphere Sunday night down in Miami. Should be a decent atmosphere tonight. A lot of Venezuelan people down in South Florida, as well as Italians. I expect a very good crowd. And then, like I said, Tuesday night is the championship game. And I would think just judging from all the crowds and the way the countries, did this, and the pride of the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans, and just the Latin American countries. I think this has been a success, and I was as dubious as anyone when I
Yeah,
was like, really,
sure.
March World Baseball Classic in March? And you say pitching handles this, pitching usually wins. Well, they're on pitch counts because it's still technically spring training, and you don't want to throw your arms out in March.
And that's the depth. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Paul Skeens throwing a 90 pitch shutout. It's the depth of the pitching staffs that have to be
Mhm.
there, which is where you would think an Italy or somebody like that wouldn't have that kind of depth. Get to their starter early, and you got to get into the bullpen. It could be a different situation, but they've held up very well.
Yeah. All right. A couple other things before we get to our locks of the week and what's bugging me. Uh, the players turned out to be quite the tournament. The weather stayed away on Sunday, although the wind was up
Yes.
big time. I guess the one thing I have watching the tournaments, the greens just looked a little. What's the word I'm looking for, John? You're the
Raggedy.
golf guy. Yes, it just was not. It looked good. The rest of the course looked great, but the
Yeah.
the greens were
They
it
got
was
to be
almost like they
careful
were
with that.
aerating them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what they do, Rich, is they try to get right up to the edge where they're cutting him to get into 14 or 13 on the stimp meter,
Yep.
that kind of
Which
thing.
makes them faster for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you play at your local club, and they're having a member tournament or something along those lines, they do the same thing. And then they're like, oh, we went too far. It got cold, or it didn't rain, or whatever else. So they got to kind of do that. That's more over a couple weeks time. This is specific to this time. They're trying to get Sunday so dialed in on the speed. So it's tough. It's what protects that course in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But the wind helped out a lot of it. And listen, that the Players Championship always comes down to Sunday, 15, 16, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, all about the water. You saw
Yeah.
Aberg or Oberg or whatever they pronounce it. His
Oberg,
name.
yeah, it's Oberg.
Rinsed two of them that he didn't. That took
Late
him
on
out.
Saturday, he could have put the tournament away on Saturday,
Yeah, there's
and
no doubt
instead
about
it was a 3-shot lead, which is usually a decent lead. But this year on the PGA Tour, nope.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. And then to have to come down to Matt Fitzpatrick and Cam Young coming down 18. Look, the water is you're doomed. But in the pine straw, you're just as in
Yeah.
trouble. You can maybe par it if you're lucky, but you saw it. You're punching out, you're chipping up. It happens all the time because you don't want to put one in the water. Then you're just doomed. So the guy with enough guts. I mean, Young. I was in and out of the tournament. Young hit a 375-yard drive
Yes,
on
he did.
18, the 72nd hole, and put it in a fairway there. That is nuts. That was 20 yards further than any other drive on that hole this week, maybe ever, if I'm not mistaken. But it was crazy long, and that way, it gave him what I would call an easy par on that hole. And Fitzpatrick was kicking it around and
Scrambling,
getting bogey, and he wins. And Cam Young has been a guy he's in the same graduating class, if you want to call it, as Scotty Scheffler. They played a lot of amateur golf together, and he was the guy that he was supposed to be his guy with him the whole way. And Cam Young has kind of struggled, and I think more mentally he's struggled with the game. You see him; he's sort of like I guess, big smile yesterday when he won, and probably cracked a smile. But he's been grinding, and he had an off year and a half or so where he wasn't quite there, and now he's won twice. And good for him. He's an up and comer, and maybe we'll see him making a mark in one of the 4 majors coming up here soon.
So he wins the 5th major, if you will, and he also knocked it stiff on 17 too.
Yeah.
I mean, his last 2 holes. Those last 2 holes were playing incredibly difficult. People were finding the water constantly, like you said, and it was interesting because I was listening to the commentary on NBC, and they were talking about the fact that where the pin was and the way things were, they were surprised that more weren't going at the pin.
Right.
So he went right at the pin, and knocked it pretty good. Got himself a bird to get even, and then, like you said, he hit that monster drive. So he didn't he didn't back in. He won it. He did
Yes.
2 incredible shots.
Think
to,
about the
win
talent, the
tournament.
talent for those 2 shots. You got to judge and wind. You know, you're looking at the hardest 130-yard shot in golf, right? And you stuff it with a wedge. Your wedge play is dynamic, and then stand up and get up to the tee box and blast something 375. That right there is at the edge of every golfer. The wedge you love to be stick wedges. Maybe you're not the guy, but you love to hit 375. When you're doing it both, you're a winner. You're going to win.
Yes, you are. And Oberg found the water a lot, especially down the stretch. Ended up with a 76. He ended up tied for 5th after leading most of the tournament.
He has a very sort of European way about him. He's going to be a winner. Don't get me wrong, but I like his demeanor on the golf course. It's not that rip your throat out, hate the guy you're playing with kind of thing. He'll find his wheel, his spot, and when he does, he'll win a handful of major championships. You know, he'll be that guy.
As we mentioned earlier, the Valspar is this week in Palm Harbor. It's not a signature event. Be interesting to see what kind of field they're able to get. And again, this is kind of like a what do you want to call it? The Valspar and the tournament down on the Palm Beaches. A lot of people believe one of these 2 tournaments is going to be going away.
Yeah, and I get it, because the signature tournaments are getting more run, and they can be that if the NCAA anoints them with that. But then you got the World Golf Championships as well, and trying to fit that you're in the middle of the players and the PGA now. So there's a lot of little things with that. Valspar's biggest problem is that the property itself. I love the golf course. I'm going there in June to play for a weekend. Getting Copperhead twice. Copperhead is really hard. There's been times that they thought that could have been a major championship golf course, except it's in Tampa, and you can't play a major championship in Tampa in the summertime. This is not going to work. But the rough can be very sort of like, very Muni-ish. You know what I mean by that? It's like you're not getting much rough. You're kind of hitting out of dirt, and it's not really this of the quality of some of these other courses. And so they're looking at it and saying maybe it's not of what we would want. Whereas one down in Palm Beach Gardens, it's pristine, beautiful. How homes lying in the course, that very much that sort of private golf course look to it. Where Valspar's it's a tough layout, and but it doesn't present itself as that.
By the way, just to make a note, Bryson DeChambeau, because I had insomnia Saturday night, so live at 4:30 in the morning, I'm watching the LIV tournament in Singapore, and they're playing in a pretty good rainstorm. DeChambeau ended up winning. Richard T. Lee needed a 2-footer to send it to the second playoff hole, and he missed it. 2 feet.
That's when you're there's 48 guys in LIV or whatever, how many there are, right? And when you get past the top 7, you got Richard T. Lee. You know what I mean? And not saying that that's because he missed a 2-foot putt, but they're not. These are not seasoned guys at this point.
Right.
They're not.
So Bryson gets another win, getting himself ready for the Masters coming up in just a few weeks. NBA. We haven't talked much NBA on this podcast, but we're getting close to the end of the regular season, and something happened this week that was interesting how it was received. Some people thought it was a great thing, and other people thought it was not so great, that basically it was, for lack of a better term, fabricated. Bam Adebayo, who's a good player. He's actually a very good player for the Heat. Got off to an unbelievable start. I think he scored 31 points in the first quarter of their game against the Washington Wizards, who might as well have been the Washington Generals on Tuesday night. Anyway, he had 63 points through 3 quarters, and they left him in. And he hit a couple of threes late, even after missing. They kept getting the ball back to him. And why not? He's having a career game. He actually passed Kobe's 81 to become the second all-time leading single-game scorer in NBA history, as the Heat won the game. I don't know, first off, how much you knew about it, and second of all, what your thoughts were.
I heard a lot
Which
about
side?
it. It caught my eye big time, when it happened. Look, fabricated, yeah, in the fourth quarter, but he had to have 60 in 3 quarters
Right.
to be fabricated. They didn't come in there saying, "Hey, let's get Bam 83 tonight."
Right.
You told the guy you got to go out and get 83 tonight. He said, "Is anybody going to guard me? What's going to
Yeah.
happen here?" Right. So the guy had a great night. Look. This is about Kobe more than anything else. You got the Kobe guys, the tragicness of Kobe's ending of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 guy in the NBA history. And this is his 81. Is everybody started saying, well, is it better than Wilt's? Because Wilt was playing against 5'5" plumbers and whatever they're talking about, right?
Right.
This was, I think they felt like this was the legitimate number. The 81 might have been the real number, not the 100 number, right? But come on, the guy did it. That's silly to look at that and say that's not that you were going to pull him out of the game when he has a chance to make history.
Right. He's having the game of his life.
And I'm going to tell you this: most guys that have been all timers in whatever sport it is would be standing and applauding him while he did it. They're about greatness. And while their greatness was, he got hurts a little bit. I don't think Kobe is would sit there and say, "Man, they did that to me." I don't think so. And if he did, it wouldn't. If he was still alive, God rest his soul, he'd look petty in that situation.
Right. By the way, Kobe did it against the Toronto team that was just about as bad as Washington.
Absolutely. Again, did anybody say he was fabricated anything because Kobe was that much better? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mike didn't go out and fabricate an 85-point game. He could have done it if he asked. He went to Phil Jackson when they say, "Hey, we're playing whoever. Can I go out there and try to get 80 points?" Phil might say, "Yeah, whatever. See what you can do, whatever it may be." Guy had to hit shots. Guy had to do everything to get there. So he still had to play defense. He didn't sit there and just cherry pick the ball down the court. So I think it's a crappy thing to do to the guy to say that somehow it was fabricated. He had to make the shots. He played against an NBA team. For as bad as they may be, they're still an NBA team. And and everybody else has a shot to play the Wizards. Go out and get 85 if you think it's such an easy thing to do. So I don't think it's right. And it seems like everything he said after the game, the next day, he was spot on. Guy you'd loved having your team, it looks like to me. And I think how everybody reacted to him, they were genuinely excited for him. And listen, Spoelstra's been around a long time. He's he's
the best coach in the game right now. Yeah.
Yeah. He's very well respected. If that's something he wanted to do for Bam Adebayo, I'd say great, go ahead and do it. But he didn't. He didn't fabricate it. The end, yes. Did he get him shots? Yes. Okay, I get that. But before that, no, you don't get. That's ridiculous.
He did shoot 43 free throws, which is the most in the history of the NBA in a single game. Made 35 of them, and he's a okay free throw shooter. So it kind of reminds me of Wilt. Remember, Wilt was a 51% shooter,
right?
And in his 100-point game, he was 28 out of 32.
Yeah, so, great night.
Sometimes you have nights like that. So, by the way, Orlando, keeping it local, won their 7th straight game over Miami Saturday night, and has very quietly moved into 5th in the Eastern Conference with 16 games left in the regular season. And the thing about Orlando, they have been dealing with injuries all year long. They're getting healthy at the right time. And by the way, they stopped Miami's 7-game winning streak. So both Florida teams have been playing extremely well, but the Magic could be a dangerous team. A lot of people at the beginning of the year thought the Magic could be like a 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
They probably can get to a 4. I don't know if they can pass the Knicks, but they're playing some good basketball right now.
They've drafted well. They've been quietly building a team, and I think that they are going to make a little bit of a little noise in the playoffs this year.
No question. All right, time to go to locks of the week. You are human after all, John Massoni.
I don't know if it sounds weird, but I kind of feel okay about the loss. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
They get sometimes you just start thinking to yourself, you just can I just pick anything? But not in that case. And again, that was a lockbuster by picking Florida to win the SEC.
I took USF to win the American. I took a real shortcut. They only had to play 2 games, but sometimes the pressure could be more than that. They got a break. The host team lost to Charlotte the night before, and Charlotte is a team that they handled. And then, like we said earlier, they played probably a C+ game and still beat Wichita State by 15
Yeah.
to win
Yeah.
the American. So, and there again, we both think that are going to could be very dangerous, particularly in the first game against Louisville. So you're now 17-8 on the season. I'm 16-9, just one win behind you.
Yeah, close.
Do you have something?
I'll ask you a question. I'm locked between two different choices. Should I go golf or should I go tournament? What do you think?
Tournament.
Okay.
Because are you sure about your pick in golf? I mean, are they going to play?
I was going to give it a top 10 kind of setup with a golf
okay
player. So I'll go this way. I'm not picking a game, but I'm going to say this, and it may sound easy, but I'm a little iffy on a couple of things here. But the number ones all make it to the Sweet 16. That's my prediction. Okay. The number ones, because I see some 8-9 kind of matchups. There could be some things. The depth, like I said to you before, the depth is there. I said 20 teams could win it. I think outside of the 16s and the 15s and the 14s, you're going to see. I think you're going to see some teams in the 32 that are really going to press some of these teams. So I'm going to say all 4 ones make it to the Sweet 16.
Duke would have to play the winner of Ohio State and TCU. Michigan would have to play the winner of Georgia and St. Louis, who are not playing in St. Louis. Arizona will have to play the winner of Villanova and Utah State, and Florida would have to play the winner of Clemson and Iowa.
So I'm going to say this to you. Georgia is a good basketball team. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are scary. They've got athletes. That's the one game that I look at and say that could be the one. That's the one I look at. I don't think Florida or Duke, but I think the Michigan matchup and the Arizona matchup are going to be interesting to say the least. And by the way, they're great basketball teams, but I feel something that the tournament, that the ones are going to be challenged greatly, not just from the 2 line, but from every game is going to be a tussle, I think, for some of these teams.
All right. Mine, I think I kind of previewed it earlier. I am going to pick a game, and I'm not even going to go point spread. I'm just going to go straight up. I think USF beats Louisville.
Good. I think you're right. Louisville had a lot of people were touting them, and they really liked them. I didn't like that team when I see them play. Mm-hmm. Ragtag in some ways, you know what I mean? Like chuckers, you know what I mean? Like they're throwing up in the ball and they're just kind of running out there with it. And I think they may have underachieved a little this year, a little bit. So we'll see if that's you're right. By the way, my other pick was going to be Justin Thomas plays well at Valspar. He's not a guy that people are looking to win because he's coming off an injury. He's getting back into shape.
Well, he played very well over the weekend.
That's why I liked about it. He played well in a tough course, and he does like Copperhead. So I had him as a top 10 finisher this week, even though he was not in that category, if you want to call it. But I'm going to stick with I'm at the ones. I like.
Well, I'm glad to hear he's playing. I would love to see him win the tournament.
Again, you never. Yeah, hopefully this. I had a real issue this week. My fantasy golf. I picked Colin Morikawa.
Oh boy!
And so did about 20 other guys in the fantasy. They got 50-some guys, and so you're like, what? And you say that and you never know. You just never know with this guy. And JT, he says he's in, but maybe he had a rough weekend. Thursday he calls. Thursday morning he says I'm out. Get the other guy. Get the alternate in there. So you don't know. You don't know sometimes, but that would be my guy. My pick on that one if that was one I was going to take.
All right, fair enough. All right, time now for what's bugging me. You want to hit first, or do you want me to go? Okay,
I'll go. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I don't like to. I know that the selection committees of anything have a tough job. Okay. Sure. Mm-hmm. But what I don't like though in college basketball, and this goes back, I remember Dick Vitale every year would scream about the mid-majors, the little guy. This is what makes the tournament. Why are we just discarding them and throwing them away? I look at this. Auburn shouldn't have been on any line. Okay. Mm-hmm. First in, first out, whatever they were, shouldn't have been. I think that there should be more validity put into a conference champion like Miami of Ohio or anybody else by that matter, not to be undefeated, that they need more validity. I'm not talking about like obscure conferences. I'm talking, the MAC is not. I'm sorry, that's a good conference. You know what I'm saying? The AAC, that's a good conference. I think even the Big East in some cases, that they get, they've sort of made a rollback. But to sort of like, again, Patino agrees with it. I don't. I think St. John should have been up higher in that situation. Going back to the looking back, and I know that they're all deserving of certain things, but am I overwhelmed? I'm looking right now on the shot sheet. Michigan State, Gonzaga, Virginia, Illinois. I know they're good on the 3 line. Okay, but are they much better than the 4 line? And did they win anything? Were they just in the middle of the pack the whole season? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just feel like there should be something more when you're picking and giving some more validity to some of these schools that have had great regular seasons and then have a hiccup in the tournament. They're playing the tournament. It should instead of having 96 teams, the tournament should just be everybody who wins it and go from there. But they're not going to do that because they want everybody in the Power Four to make it. So selection committee, give the little guy a little bit, be a little more favorable to them a little bit.
With NIL, it's actually getting worse.
Right. And you said about Texas, I kind of agree. Really? Texas?
Yeah. Tough. All right. My what's bugging me, the World Baseball Classic. Again, I've been more interested than I thought I would be. And I understand that at the beginning of the tournament, you had games in Japan, you had games in Puerto Rico, you had games, globally. But when we get down to the quarters, the semis, and the finals, the games are being played in baseball stadiums right. in the major leagues. So, and I'm not going to say, and I give Dominican Republic all the credit in the world. They're not saying that the calls in the 8th or 9th inning were the thing that decided the game, even though I'm sure when they're talking amongst themselves, they're like, my goodness, the Soto call in the 8th inning and then the final pitch of the game. You have ABS. You're going to use ABS in baseball this year. You're going to be able to pitcher, the catcher, the batter, you're going to be able to challenge calls. So why not, and I understand, again, in the early rounds, you couldn't do it. But this is I don't want to say tricked up tournament, but it's a tournament where everything comes back to the U.S. So why when you get to the quarters, semis, and finals, you use the ABS? Why not? Right. I just think it's crap. You could give it for one, it's a test run. I think it would be a very good thing to use. So I don't understand why they didn't, do that for the knockout stage. And, again, it didn't, I don't think it decided the game. Listen, the Dominican, who's been scoring like 10 runs a game, they've been run ruling people. They end up scoring 1 run. I mean, score more runs. It's like win more games. It's like the same thing with the NCAA tournament. But it bothers me that they have something that they could use and they didn't use it. How's that? And I think simple way of putting it.
Sometimes, like let's say you're going to throw a local softball league, men's league tournament, right? And you brought some teams in from other towns or whatever it may be, right? And you trot out, your uncle who's going to umpire some games, right? Because you need on the back games, and all of a sudden a championship game, and you're like, well, Uncle Joe's going to do the game, and and Uncle Joe's is like, hey, I'm in favor of the local guys. I'm not saying it's that way, but as you wean things down, make it tighter. This World Baseball Classic, my opinion, Rich, I think it's more successful than they realize.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's hard to find. It's not like there's not mainstreaming it on TV. ESPN's not doing anything. It's an MLB production, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Fox a little bit there, but still, it's, to me, there's they're not giving it the proper treatment in some cases. And yeah, everything comes back to the US, okay? Because it's about that. It's generated. So I wouldn't be surprised, Rich, is if they don't do it themselves, that the other countries start to say, hey, let's get this right. This is our folks in the DR and the folks in Venezuela, and this is everything to them.
Everything. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
And you and I we're talking about it as our last segment or whatever it may be, because okay, it's cool, it's something different, it's fun, it's entertaining, but we're not going to go home or go to bed crying because they lose.
Right.
But they are in other places. It's a big deal, and let's make it right. Do it, make it a big deal like it should be. If it's a world, but if you're treating it as a world tournament, then give it the proper, handling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, totally agree. And again, you have the technology, use it. Simple. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I know you have to get over to the hospital. Yes, as you show the snow in the background. Again, best of luck to your daughter.
You very much.
And we look forward to hearing the results of the gender reveal next week.
Listen, it'll be the highlight. It'll be number one story coming out for the 941 Sports Zone next week.
For episode number 31. So for Mile High Masoni, that rolls right off the tongue.
It does. When I said it, I was like, all right, that's the one right there. Yeah, I almost was Rocky Mountain High Masoni. I thought it was too long. Mine are always a little too long. This is more like right on the
perfect. It actually is perfect. So for Mile High Masoni, I'm Spitz. Until next week. Again, we're gonna go ahead. You can get this on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Like and subscribe for us.
We're hand feeding you. Here we go. Give it to
exactly.
You. Yes.
And a big thanks again to the folks at Mighty Dog Roofing for helping to bring you the 941 Sports Zone. So long, everybody.
See ya.